Thank you for inviting me here. I would like to talk about Agile PMO. PMO stands for Project Management Office. We are a group of people that are trying to release all the software development activities to the field. So we also take care of the orderability and other aspects, documentation of the bigger visibility of programs. So I would like to talk a little bit about the short story of a fox that he would like to jump from the waterfall. And because I'm pretty new to Motorola, but I'm ex-Motorola, so you might not know me, I would like to just introduce me a little bit. So first of all, just certificates that I gained through a couple years of my work, not only here, but outside of Motorola. But it's not about certificates. I'm a human being. I'm breathing the same air. I'm a runner, and I have a second job. Don't say anything to HR. They might call me, but I'm a father as well. So that's my biggest skill, I would say. Now, I would like to announce something. I would like to announce a little fox that would like to join my team. Fox is a known animal that is kind of known by his agility. So that's why I picked this type of animal for it. But still, the little fox didn't work at all in agile way or in agile methodologies. So the only thing he knows is the waterfall approach. So let's start from the roots. Principles. The most important aspect, because we need to start from something, right? We need to start from our values, apologize. I think my kids were playing with the presentation, but it's still true. So I think we should be fine here. The principles I was trying to relate to was the principles made by Agile Manifesto in 2001. And these are all principles that we are aware of. There are 12 of them. And through the entire presentation, I will try to kind of connect the dots between waterfallish model, Agile, and how it can actually work together. So, okay, little fox wants to know a full story about the Agile. So let's start from the beginning. I recently read a paper from Dr. Winston Royce, and the paper was from 1970, so 54 years ago. He knew where we're going to end up right now. That's amazing because it's actually planted a seed in my head. He mentioned at the end of the paper that testing is the phase of greatest risks in terms of dollars and schedule, which means with the cascading model, we are trying to do the most risky aspect at the end of the project. So is it smart? He also mentioned a couple things, and these are 4 steps that we cannot forget, and they are very much connected to Agile methodology. So design. He, of course, drew a whole spectrum of aspects we need to focus on from the beginning till the end of the program, but the design is always at the beginning. What happens with the design later on? And he said explicitly that it needs to be updated. It needs to be constantly worked on. It's not like we do it once and forget about it. We always have to go back and make the updates to make sure it shows the realistic view of what we designed, what we would like to build. So you need the design almost in any place, in testing, when you are building a test plan, when you are creating software constantly, right? So the teams can rely on it. And that's what he mentioned, that the old waterfallish way of doing things, completely forget about. Simulation. This is one of the pictures that I took from, I think you can buy those wind turbine on Amazon, but you need to firstly check what you want to build rather than rely on the Smiths. And the human judgment can always mislead things. So be careful what you're building based on what somebody said. Oh, that's not the perfect slide. So on the middle a little bit here, you can see that a lot of simulation aspects were built in right away, and when the outcome was actually so big that it was captured in every single step later on in analysis, program design, coding, testing, operations. So based on the simulations, we can make our life easier and better through the entire cycle of the program. Okay, question for you. That's the first challenge probably. Do you know that character from the game? Anyone online maybe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's not from Tetris, so I don't
know. No? Okay. The Fox knew about it because it's a Bomberman, and the next phase is actually testing. I'm not sure why I'm connecting bombs and blowing something when we are actually testing something, but never mind. That's my view, I guess. But it always happened at the end, and the biggest risk we have at the end. So why we are actually doing that at the end and not before with some sorts of cadence or iterations, right? The next question: do you know who is at the end of the program? Like, who wants the program that we produce? The customer, hopefully. That's true. The little fox didn't know about that one. So yeah, the customer. So we need to keep in mind that through the entire journey of program, we need to invite the customer. And this is exactly what Dr. Winston Royce mentioned, that through the entire project, if we're not going to invite the customer, we are just inviting troubles. All right, let's go the next step. The next step would be 2001 Agile Manifesto. And as I mentioned before, Dr. Winston Royce planted a seed. And right now I can see already a little tree over here because we have written down document about our values or what we should value and what we should focus on in terms of principles. So these are, of course, known items that I don't think we need to just rumble about, but there are many things that I will go through, and I just like those three because it's emphasize the simplicity is essential. We need to focus on things to maximize the amount of work not done. So if we don't need to do it, don't do it. Don't spend time on it. Working software is the primary measure of progress. This is something sometimes that we forget just because we want to measure everything in Jira, tickets, story points, everything. But at the end of the day, what counts the most is the software that works. And on the left-hand side, I think because of COVID, we forget about things as well. And the face-to-face conversation is the most effective method of conveying information. So keep in mind, meet people, talk to them. We will help each other. Okay, the little fox didn't know about the Agile Manifesto, so he needs to go back and do a lesson, additional lesson. Now we're going to talk about the guides, and I'm talking here about the Scrum guide that you can even listen, made by Krystyna Czubówna if you want. There is a link. The Kanban guide, obviously, there is a lot of information how teams are working, and what's the most important, it's still the empiricism. So how we can learn from the knowledge that we gather during the programs and from the experience. So it's important to understand from the PMO perspective how the teams work, and I will talk more a little bit about that in the next slides. Why the principles are important. When we are talking about the Kanban principles, we want to visualize, we want to limit work in progress. If we're not going to visualize things to teams that they need to focus on, they don't know it. Like, they need to see the ticket about a bug, about something they need to do, rather than just telling them what to do. It's important to visualize whatever needs to happen during the entire sprint or just a week of work. Okay, the little folks still don't understand a little bit, but we're going to cover the principles and how the goals made on the top they need to be reflected on the bottom as well, and how PMO can interact between those layers. The last piece, I would say, it's scaling Agile. I know, you guys are a bit allergic to it. I think I heard sneezing, so please mute. But it's really not that bad. I mean, the whole picture is big, but if you're gonna break down things into smaller chunks, you're gonna be able to understand that this is just a bunch of tools that we would like to gather. If you don't like the tool, don't use it. So first of all, we have those lines, layers, team level, art level, or more like a value stream level. So many things that you can look at from different perspectives. We have different backlog items. So in our case, it's, for example, initiatives, epics on the top level, but the teams will need to focus only on the epic and story level. And that's also embedded here, and it's prioritized, which is the most important. They need to know what's the most important to do for the customers. Built-in quality, continuous integration, all the testing can happen earlier, constantly, and this is also one of the emphasis of SAFe. Measure and grow, this is probably a new button from SAFe 6.0. And it's probably not the easiest one to read, because all the nomenclature from those metrics is different than So cycle time is something different. It's a flow time or something like that. So the naming convention is, I feel it's really bad, but it contains exactly what I was using in all of my programs whenever I was talking with teams, with trains, arts, or organizations. I use those measurements to see where we are. Okay, and that's the back full picture. And okay, we have another allergic little fox, so apologize for doing so. I hope he's not gonna get sick. Okay, we are in today's world. He would like to know how all this information will benefit in his daily work. So I have a couple steps for him. The early testing, measuring front end, and we will go one by one. So first, early testing. Do you know what type of challenge is that?
Marshmallow and spaghetti.
Marshmallow, yeah, exactly. So the marshmallow, do you know who is winning the marshmallow? It's pretty obvious that people that have no clue how to build things are pretty good at that, right? But what they do differently is they always build, don't think about the final outcome, and they will put marshmallow on the top as early as possible just to test everything. And the word test is the critical path here, right? So before we're gonna go into sketches, designs, and everything else, people just get together and build stuff. Probably one of the best ways. I think architects and engineers are better, but okay, we can give that credit to them, that's fine. Okay, so in early testing, we would like to focus on 3 principles. And it's all about satisfying the customer by early and continuous delivery. And the primary measure is a real measure of progress. So based on these 3, the little fox would like to give us a challenge. He needs a help to understand how he can how he can jump from a waterfall and not hurt himself. I would say kill, but that's recorded. So let's see. This is the picture of Niagara Falls and the little fox on the top. Does it say the full story? He wants me to sketch. Okay, I can sketch. Let's draw a line. It doesn't feel good. I'm not the person that looks at programs or jumps like that. So let's rotate a little bit and remove the noise. We have a perfect graph of any type of regular program. We start at the beginning and we want to end. But what the line means, oh yeah, he wants to know that too. So The line means it's a risk, right? At the end of the program, it's usually the highest risk, because whatever happens at the end, it's hard to rotate and move around and reduce the scope or add some time. If you need to end at the certain moment, it's really hard to react. What is the entire bump? As Dr. Winston mentioned, the testing is the phase of greatest risk. So this is exactly the end of regular programs, right? We are testing at the end. Okay, he wants to know how to make it different. I have an idea. We need to draw a line, first of all, survival line. Okay, if you're gonna jump from the waterfall that has like 10 meters, you're gonna probably survive. But 51, like Niagara waterfall, that's a difficult thing. So let's draw a line over here without this whole risky part. But still, we can do it in batches, right? So let's switch all the testing from the end to the middle. How many iterations? I don't know, but over here it just matches 3. So it's just an example. But keep in mind that testing earlier will save your program a lot. Okay, what do you propose for me to survive this challenge? I think we can propose a different waterfall. That would be good enough. I don't think Niagara Falls is a perfect example. Why is that? Bobby Leach tried in 1911. He survived in his steel barrel. But do we want to build a steel barrel? Come on, we just want to jump from it. So Little Fox go with a smaller waterfall. So with maybe not cascading, but iterative waterfall. Okay, he has some questions about the projects overall. Can you oh yeah, what if the first iteration delays? Then you have time to respond. You have still 2 iterations to react somehow, remove things, remove scope, add scope, whatever happens, because risk doesn't mean to be negative always. It can be positive as well. So yeah, it doesn't matter that much. Keep an eye on the dates for small iterations, but it is easier to make changes at the beginning. Can you release after every iteration? Yes, you can, but it's up to the business. If the customer is not waiting, let's move on with the bigger plan and release on the cadence that the business folks would like to have. Okay, he got it finally, that he needs to test earlier and iterate. Wonderful. Let's move forward to measuring. This is where the idea behind knowing how teams are doing things, how teams are visualizing things, make the biggest difference. Because if someone says the goal is have no defects at the end of the program, that's a great goal. How are you going to announce it? Oh yeah, we're just going to do, some measurements, defects, backlog per release, whatever. Okay, but do the teams knows how to react? We need to know how they show it on Kanban boards, for example. If we going to visualize to them that all the defects needs to be fixed, they're going to prioritize it maybe over the work they need to do, and that's true. But at least they're going to be aware of what's happening and what's the expectation. If they don't know it, it's hard for them to react. We can always tell them to do it right now, but we can also measure it. This is one of the books from Daniel Vacanti, Actionable Agile Metrics for Predictability, and it talks about more metrics than just those 4, but these are very much connected. These are called flow metrics. I think you had before the presentation about flow metrics in Agile Spot, so you can go back to that presentation as well. But over here, if the throughput, which is the number of items closed per week, if it's going up or down, it can be reflected also in different areas. So if it's going down, probably your work in progress is going up, because you cannot focus on so many things. You're not closing so many things at once. When the work item age, which means how much all your tickets in progress are in progress, how much time. This would mean for you that if, for example, cycle time is usually 10 days, and the work item age, you have items for longer than 10 days, maybe let's focus on those. Let's move them to expedite swim lane and just finish them, because this is how fast we should be reacting. Sometimes the teams are actually making goals based on the cycle time. We don't want to go above 10 days of work. And then they actually show it on the work item age. So these are very much connected to each other. Just use it wisely, because there are some rules behind the metrics. First of all, there's a Las Vegas rule. Whatever happens in metrics stays in metrics. Why? Because people start judging, right, by numbers. Don't judge, start to talk. Okay, the conversation is the most important. You don't know the story behind the numbers, so don't judge. And second thing, be positive. We can always fix something together, but we need to know about it. So if you're gonna know the numbers, you're gonna know the story, you're gonna know how to react. And you can't manage what you don't measure. Edward Deming said, and I completely agree, but be aware what you're measuring. You don't need to measure everything, just focus on your goals. If you wanna fix flow of your visualization, of your Kanban board, let's go with those 4 flow metrics, for example. Okay, he got the right stuff. Measure and start conversation without judging. Excellent, good fox, I would say. Front end, that's the last piece where Agile PMO can contribute, I think, the most, but I will leave it for your judgment as well. We are basically talking about here the 2 principles, which we are connecting the business to people, to development, and we are trying to simplify everything, the outcome, and we are trying to maximize the amount of work not done, because he doesn't know what the front end is. So maybe let's wait with the because. We want to explain first what the funnel and how it works. So we put everything under one umbrella, into one, as let's say, Excel. We put contracts, solutions, ideas, explorations, features, whatever we would like to do in our development later on. We put it on the wheelbarrow. Okay, how much do you can fit in the wheelbarrow? There is some space, right? There's some capacity. So we need to know who wants to have it, what's the priority, what's the business value, what's the prioritization against each other, each of the initiatives, and the size of it. Because if it's too big, you cannot fit into one wheelbarrow, right? You cannot release it. So we need to say no sometimes. And this is the simplicity that I was talking about before. Why it's so important? We want to start and finish. I just did the half marathon this Sunday, and I will have another picture about that in a second. But it's important to start and finish whatever you do. Don't put it on shelf, because if nobody buys it, we just spend a lot of time exploring, developing things that nobody wants. I like this picture and the cloud words just because it talks about efficiency, productivity, performance. We are so much focusing on the development, on the piece that teams are doing. We are trying to automate everything. We are making small adjustments here or there to save, I don't know, 15 minutes of people's time of development. That's great. But there is a small word, I'm not sure if you can see it, effective. Effectiveness is probably a bigger word than efficiency, because I will leave a few seconds so you can read it. And this is why front-end is so important. This is why PMO, talking to product managers, product owners, teams, maybe not customers, but project teams, are needed to capture those items that we don't need to do. Or maybe we can do it differently. We can cut the scope to the limit so it's sellable, it's acceptable by the customer, and we don't have to actually spend additional time. And we are so much focusing on small items, efficiencies, but we don't focus on effectiveness. So let's switch a bit. So what did the fox say? This is, I had to actually go back a couple meters. So that was a lot of effort to do that and to make this picture. And that was on last Sunday. What does fox says? He learned about Agile. He learned about the iterative release tracking, how to measure, to start conversation rather than judging, how to early test or think about it whenever we have a program. Yeah, effectiveness rules over efficiency. And the last one, how to choose a waterfall, jump from it and not die. I think that's all. Thank you very much.